What's up, Rockstars? Today I have a really investigative piece for you. I'm going to be looking into the Toyzzo game table. It's currently live on Kickstarter, and a lot of you have commented saying that it is a potential scam. Well, I've done the research and I'm here to tell you my opinion on it. Okay, so this is going to be fairly exhaustive, but also fairly quick because I've read through it all, I've summarized it all for you guys, and made every point that I need to make on this to tell you kind of my final outcome. Now, before I tell you what I think, I will go through the information so that you can come up with your own conclusions from that, and we'll see how we align and see if I can't add any context or flavoring into that. So I'm going to try and keep it to just showing what's being read and then discuss it afterwards. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, of course, comment down below. So here is their campaign. It's a Toyzzo game table, and it says a revolutionary multifunctioning gaming and dining table with customized accessories. It's currently raised $437,000 from 1,280 backers, and still there's 41 days to go. It starts at just $230. If you didn't know, by the way, game tables typically cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. For instance, that one over there, hundreds. That one over there, thousands. Okay, so like it costs a lot of money often to get these. They're normally fairly niche for a variety of reasons. The market is just fairly niche. There's not a lot of people buying it, where there's a lot of people that just buy a normal table for all sorts of reasons, including gaming. And so it's often a very specialized process when it comes to manufacturing because of the scale of it. And because of that, and because of the board game industry, and because of the fact that it's always a specific table for gaming. In other words, it's kind of a luxurious thing you get, kind of like a third car kind of thing, right? It's made of premium stuff and made to that premium market because then it's inherently a premium item. Otherwise, you just use your dining room table or your island or whatever like everybody else. Or there are cheaper things like fold-up tables and stuff like that that often people will do to get that bigger surface area if they need it. So it's just inherently an expensive product that's often then inclined to be even more premium because of just the logistics of scale and who's buying it and why. So to say $230 is cheap is an understatement. And it doesn't just come with the table. No. So we'll get into all that. But the first thing to notice is that they are saying they're from Foshan, China. This was different before. We'll get into that and why it was different before, because they actually say why it was different. But for now, it's saying Foshan, China. And as you can see, it's their first created, and they've done zero back before. So they're brand new to Kickstarter is kind of what that shows. You see here the pledges. You have the super early bird for 230. That's the plain table. This is my dark mode. It's not perfect when it comes to images, and so it's inverting the lines of that too much, but it just shows the normal table like this. And then it has the $269 super early bird that has the actual tabletop on top of it. That's really the only difference there. And as you can see, they both list charging cases or batteries. We'll comment on that later as well. And you can see that actually there's still a few left of this one and quite a few left of this one. There's a total of 1,400 available for the super early, and there's no way to back anything else. That's just kind of the two things that they have. Okay, so as you go down here, you're going to see they list a lot of things, including accessories for this rail system here. They're going to talk about wireless built-in charging, the game or dining room table, the RGB lighting, Bluetooth speakers, and that's that rail system for the accessories, durable and long-term family use, stuff like that, overcharge protection, whatnot. So as you go through here, you're going to see a whole bunch of people enjoying this table and what seems to be like a nice living room area. You can see some of the LED lights. We'll talk about that obviously more as well. They're just using the top of the table and then the inside of the table. Here you can see it's a 5 centimeter area, and they talk about the contained play area. So in other words, this well underneath the table is a play area that you can have. I'll comment on that as I go down. That's more of it's not like a scam thing. It's just a practical aspect here. But suffice it to say, you can't use it to store any games really, unless it's like maybe a card game. The normal, always clean stuff like that. 2 tables in one. This is kind of unique in a way that the top actually has these, as you can see right there, it has the legs in it, and then you fold that out and put it down and make it either a coffee table or a regular table depending on the size of the legs you put in there. That being said, the fact that they go into the well makes it to where you can't store anything in the wells either. So the topper inherently makes it to where you can never store really anything but a card game that's super flat on the bottom because it's actively going into the well itself. Oh, I imagine it helps keep it slightly secure, perhaps. I don't know exactly how much wobble it would have or anything like that. They don't really cover that at all. But you will have that's inside the well. So don't plan on keeping anything with miniatures or even perhaps meeples in there, that you'll hit those things on the bottom. So just as an FYI there. All right, next up, they have the rail system. I kind of talked about that. And as you can see, they hold quite a few different things. The game actually comes with all this. As you can see, you get 4 cup holders, 4 snack boxes, playing card cases, chip cases, hooks, Bluetooth speakers, RGB lighting, wireless chargers. It comes with all of this. So it actually comes with quite a bit of this. You will notice some oddities around the term gaming and what they're thinking people with this table are going to use. For instance, they have poker chip holders, and their playing card case has a plain deck of cards like you're playing poker or something like that. They have another deck of cards here that looks more like a game card, but you will notice that, and apparently they chew on Jolly Ranchers, which is kind of interesting. All right, so here's the wireless chargers. They kind of show that. They have the RGB lighting here. Now, one thing you will notice about this RGB lighting is its cheapness. It's just something to keep in mind, though. The price obviously would allude to that as well. It's obviously in spurts of LEDs on what it can do, and they don't seem to produce actually a lot of light. It's more just color. So you can get LEDs in a variety of quality. My daughter put LEDs in her room, and they are like the cheap Amazon ones that everybody gets that has the very defined lights every little bit. I bought one for my display case that has like triple the amount of lights in the same space, so it's a nice smooth lighting, and each light can be different as well instead of these like block strips. So just know it's one of the cheaper LED offerings that they have, just as an FYI. Bluetooth speakers, you have 2 speakers here. When I originally saw this campaign, it had 4, so that's changed. We'll talk about why it changed in a little bit, but suffice it to say they have updated this image to show that there are only 2 speakers, not 4. Durable design, premium materials for a lifetime of use. Toyzzo is expertly crafted from high quality wood. If we go here to the FAQ on what material is used for this, it says it is constructed using a fusion of particle board and walnut veneer. However, it's important to note that the edges of the table feature genuine walnut wood. So it's all fake wood, not walnut at all, except for the bottom part, or the edges, the part that you actually touch are walnut. Everything else is just engineered wood, essentially, with a veneer over top of it. So, which makes sense. You would never be able to deliver this with just walnut. My understanding, I can't prove this, but my understanding is this FAQ was not there before. So people just saw, hey, you're saying this whole thing's made of like walnut. There's no way you're doing it for that price. And they're like, oh yeah, we're totally not. It's actually just the outside is walnut. So some clarification there is, I guess, what I'll word it on that. Has the overcharge protection. We already talked about that. And then they have these quick little videos where they show essentially those same people you saw at the top interacting with it. And then you can see there's this other KS special, all this stuff. They've never even reached this. The original amount of this, I believe, was 400, not 1400. So they've constantly increased that. So it's kind of a permanent thing to do. And they've never really gotten to these prices, just as an FYI. All right, so then here you can see production, and they actually added this like trial production video. It's a short little video for that, and you can see them actually building it in their little area where they build the tables here. And as you can see, more than one table there also, or at least, so they at least have one available here. It's kind of questionable how many more they have. We'll go into the comments and see exactly there. Now, they also have this delivery service. It's a standard delivery is self-pickup at a local warehouse. If you choose this option, your table will be shipped to a nearby warehouse. You'll need to go there to pick it up yourself. We'll provide you with the warehouse's exact address and contact information once we start shipping. So you don't know where they are. Just once they start shipping, then they'll let you know where that is. The shipping charges for this choice will be collected directly when you pledge for the reward during the Kickstarter campaign. So without knowing where they deliver, you're going to have to say, yeah, I'll pick it up at the local place, which is an odd logistic point where you're kind of gambling that there's one close to you, but not actually knowing. Then there's a doorstep delivery where you'll still pay the same shipping, but then you'll have an additional charge later. Our aim is to ensure you have all the information you need to decide how you'd like to receive your Toyzzo table, except for the fact that you have to decide before you know. So besides that, so that's kind of a silly thing there. And then they have the list of prices here, and they're very like lump sum on like, oh, the United States, you're going to be paying $72, and that's what you're going to do it, no matter what. So it's kind of interesting there. For the Meet the Team, it just lists 2 people. It lists Brian, who's the co-founder and supply chain manager. It doesn't mention any other founder. And then it mentions Elisa here. We'll be talking about her. She's a marketing director, and we'll look more into her in a little bit as well. And then a timeline. The only thing important here is that the first prototype was at 6/20/22, and then it's gone on from there, and now they've launched it on 9/20/23. So right here in September is when they've launched this, and they plan on delivering it on February. been featured on a few places, and really, that's it. So let's go in and dive into some of the more details. We'll go in and start with Elisa. So Elisa here, Elisa Valencia, is a startup and scale-up business consultant. This is her LinkedIn, and she has a whole lot of stuff that she's been a part of. But the main thing here is a marketing director under contract, so she's not a full-time employee at Toyzzo. I looked it up, and she is the only person on LinkedIn who works at Toyzzo. So this co-founder is not on LinkedIn, does not list it in any way, shape, or form. So as far as Toyzzo is concerned, she is the sole person that you can track on LinkedIn for it, and she is a contract as a marketing director. That being said, she is a marketing director, and notice she does a lot of like marketing, startup, that kind of thing. The marketing is going to come into importance as we go on, so just keep that in mind that she's kind of one of the main people here, which is why she was listed as a team, even though she is a contract employee. Next up, we have the actual updates. So this is kind of going along with that marketing, right? So they have one update that they've done so far, over $20,000 in just 8 minutes. So they're fully funded. They have comment and win, share your best board game memory. Head to the campaign's comment section and tell us your favorite board game memory. And you could win an actual game table. Share your story in the comments. So the first part is obviously this is marketing, and here's why. Kickstarter actually has a discovery, right? When you click browse or discovery or, the magic thing, when you're looking at tabletop games or anything that has to do with tabletop gaming, the way it orders that is based on a few things. One of the things the algorithm looks at is how much you're funded. It's why you see these low funding scores. One of the reasons, because if you fund really fast and if you're way above your funding level, Kickstarter likes that and often puts you higher in that list. Another thing it does is it looks at activity, how many people are interested in that, and it reads comments for that. So the reason you see voting on Kickstarter is for that reason. It's why the voting is through comments instead of other things. Often they'll say vote in the comments, even though that's inherently kind of a obtuse way of actually counting a vote, but it's worth it because it gets you to add comments, which adds engagement, which again raises them in the score. So it's a very good marketing tactic to do. So they're doing a giveaway for people on here to share their gaming story. I'm going to read their responses to that in a little bit, because that'll also kind of tell you a little bit about Toyzzo as a company. So we'll be able to look at that, but suffice to say, that's what that's for. They also have this, one more thing, introducing the Toyzzo Boost program. This is where it gets a little sketchy for the first time, I think. For every person who pledges through your link, you will earn a 50% cashback commission. So you can actually join this Boost program and tell people to back this product, give them a referral link, and then you get commission if they back it. 15% is what you get from their backing. So as somebody, as like a YouTuber who has worked with like actual companies and sponsorships, a 15% on a board game table is wild. That is high. That is huge. You can get 15% every now and then. It's not very typical. For the most part, you're happy with 10% maybe. Often it'll be a 5%, somewhere around there. I mean, they do range a lot. But for a big name item like this, where it's hundreds of dollars and earning 15% for every referral, if I got that as a sponsor and I did a sponsored plug for that, that would be one of the best sponsorships I've ever gotten. And it shows that there's going to be a lot of people that just want to tell you how great this is, right? I mean, that's why it does that. Again, that's this marketing that Elisa's, I'm sure, kind of working on and knowing what she's doing on that to get people to really be buzzed about this. And that's one of the things you can do, is definitely incentivize people to really push for sales for you, because people believe their friends more often. People are willing to do all sorts of things for some money or something for free. And again, it just generates more buzz, and it makes people essentially think, oh, I can pay for my table if I get enough other people to sign up, right? It's almost like a quasi-pyramid scheme kind of thing, right? Whereas I benefit from the others doing their stuff. It doesn't trickle down. If they do the referral program, then, it's not like you get everything from there or anything like that. But that's kind of the mentality it goes for, right? So that's why, and that's the only update they've done so far. They've been live. Again, this was on the 14th that they did this. I'm filming this at the end of the day on the 17th. So, all right, so I'm going to go through the comments here, and it's linked down below. Feel free to look through everything you want to. Obviously, you guys know a lot, especially you guys, you super backers, are asking all sorts of questions. So there's a lot here, And there is one new comment I've seen. I'm not going to expand that because I don't know if it's going to like reload everything or not. And I don't want it to like mess up my highlights because I've only highlighted the important parts for you. We're going to go from the bottom up though, because that's the order the comments came in. It'll make a little bit more sense that way. Otherwise, we'll kind of be going back in time in a way. All right, so now we're in the comments. And in this part, we're going to see a lot about the company and we're going to dive into it pretty deep here. We're going to be looking at their website and diving into that and a few other things. There's another legitimate company that's inquiring about them. We'll go through all that. We're going to be going in reverse order. So from the top to the bottom, but that'll actually make a lot more sense because some of the things only make sense later on when you read them. In other words, you read them and they seem fine, but then you find out information afterwards, and then when you read those, they seem to say something else. So reading in reverse order is actually going to help us out a little bit. There's going to be some oddities where you're going to see it going back in time, but for the most part, this is probably the best way to digest the information. And just a shout out to you guys for knowing your stuff, and especially you super backers, really looking out for other people and really asking the hard questions and the very legitimate questions. So let's go ahead and dive into that. There is one new update here and one new comment. I'm not going to bother reading that because it's probably doesn't change anything I'm going to show anyway, and I don't want it to mess up all my formatting. I'll look at it after the video. If it matters, that's fine. And this is linked down below. Feel free to do your own research if you wish. So again, I've only highlighted kind of the big points here. So this is an FYI. So this here is a comment from Sohi, and they were asking about the local pickup and why that's so weird because, you know, you're like doing this local pickup, but nobody knows where that local pickup is or how close it is. It could be 1,000 miles away. They don't know. It says here, we can offer self-pickup because our shipping partner has partnerships with local warehouses around the world like Walmart. We'll ask them to provide more detailed information about self-pickup options and locations and update that ASAP. So, and this was 9 hours ago, which means that they are here today. They haven't written another update or done anything like that, but they are here. They just haven't really been doing updates. It's just, oh, hey, we'll let you know later. So I don't know if they're trying to insinuate that you're going to be picking up this game table at Walmart, even though it's not even like sold through Walmart or anything like that, or what. It sounds like this is a Chinese company and they obviously work with distributors around the world and do shipping and all that stuff. I mean, it's like what their guys' bread and butter do. It's what they say they do. We'll see that later on. But they haven't actually figured it out yet, which is why they haven't released it yet. They just know that, oh, hey, we work with all these warehouses. We'll find a place close to you. And then just left it at that. But the logistics around sending that out is something they'll figure out later. So before I dive more into that, because this is kind of pinpointing a big point here, there are a lot of Chinese companies, not all, of course, and not all Chinese people or anything like that, but a lot of the Chinese companies, I've worked with enough of the factories as well to kind of talk about this, that often they'll promise something and then figure it out later because they want you to in on the contract. They want your business. And so they will say yes to pretty much anything and then figure it out and correct it later. It's a different like business culture there for a lot of them when it comes to that, where they want to just, and it's not even from necessarily a bad or manipulative or like malicious point of view. I'm not saying Toyzzo is any of those things. I'm saying in general, a lot of these Chinese manufacturing companies just want your business and will just say yes and then have to correct it later or try to figure it out because they're just trying to please you. They want to be in partnership with you. They want to be in business with you, and they will say yes, even if it doesn't end up being possible. They don't know yet. They'll try to figure it out. They'll do their best, and they'll course correct as needed. But the most important thing is to say yes right away and then get the deal and then figure it out afterwards. You're going to see this kind of tendency a lot from what I believe from Toyzzo. So, we work with people. We could like ship to like Walmart and junk. Maybe we'll figure it out later. And then again, we'll post an update later, right? Is what it kind of always ends up being. So then down here further, this Jeff Newell, he says, I can think of 1,000 easier ways to scam somebody other than creating 10 videos and prototypes and a campaign. So a few things about that. First of all, totally true. You can scam somebody out of $20 pretty easy. If you want to scam people out of $500,000, which is what they've done right now, that's a little bit different. You got to put in some effort to do that, right? It's not just something that comes easily. Additionally, building up a prototype and putting up a campaign and a website and stuff for somebody like you, Jeff, or me is probably a lot of work. For somebody who does this as a living, this is their industry, they manufacture furniture all the time, it's very easy to whip up a prototype, take some pictures, take some videos, put up a website. You can do that within a day and then post it on the campaign and go. That is actually very little effort for them. It's not hard to do at all. They do it literally every day for their normal work. So popping up something and then figuring out later is a very easy thing to do. I recently covered another campaign that used a lot of AI art and had one update, and the update said, geez, I barely even tried, and they made like $6,000. It was just a card game idea they did. But as long as you can produce the art and it looks kind of legit and it looks kind of like a real thing, it can raise some money on Kickstarter. It's actually a fairly easily low bar to do these days. And then if you already have all that there, then yeah, you're good to go. Now, when it comes to scam, let's define that real quick. There is purposeful, malicious, out to get you scam where they are like, I'm going to steal people's money and never deliver anything. That is definitely something that we use the word scam a lot. There is, because of how complex, board game manufacturing is and logistics of shipping internationally and all sorts of other stuff, right? Or just circumstantial stuff. There is ways that you can end up in a position that scams people without it being purposeful or malicious. Like I said before, a lot of these companies are just trying to get your business and are just going to try and deliver as best they can, probably knowing they won't get it all, but that's just part of business for them, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to say yes, and then I'll give you 80%, and I still give you a great deal. And at the end of the day, you do have to remember this price. If you get a table at all, whether it has a battery, whether it has 4 speakers, whether it has the best LEDs, if you only spent $230 on it, and if it was a little wonky there, you kind of get what you paid for, right? But you didn't spend $3,000 either. So, everybody's ability to kind of stomach that will be different, but that doesn't mean it needs to be that obtuse up front on what you're going to get. In fact, it should almost be up front what you're going to get otherwise, right? So anyway, I kind of disagree with that. I think that there are not really that many other easier ways to steal a lot of money, though I wouldn't necessarily say at this point that Toyzzo is purposely doing that either. Okay, so moving on from that, we're going to go to the next one here. So this one is from California Freddy, and he's talking about, we should send it to some independent reviewers and stuff like that. So here they say, this is our first time running a Kickstarter campaign, and we're learning a lot from our amazing backers, and we are excited to see many people supporting and showing love for our game table. So they're saying right here, hey, we are very new to the Kickstarter campaign. Now, this is a copy paste. They say this about 30 million times. So you're going to see it all over again. I'm not even going to bother reading it. If you read any of their comments, you're going to see it. And you're going to see it on the screen plenty because they pasted at the end quite a bit. But just as an FYI, they're very new to this, and that's definitely kind of obvious. Now, this mentions VFI Asia. We'll talk about that in a moment. So here, Starflyer23 says, Toyzzo, I find it interesting that when you were called out for potential complications related to shipping an item internationally that contains a battery, again, we'll actually see that. Again, we are going in reverse order. You state that there is no battery and that the table must be plugged in to operate. Yet, when I look at the specifications you provide, there are multiple lines referring to the charging requirements of the table battery, battery life between charges, expectations, and overall battery life. It clearly seems that you are just responding and saying completely contradictory things. So then they responded with, at first we designed the table with built-in battery. However, due to concerns about shipping conditions and after thorough evaluation and testing by our production team, we decided to remove the battery pack and only keep the plug-in, which is more shipping friendly. The specifications currently listed on this campaign page are outdated. Our marketing team missed the update. We will promptly correct this. Now, they still have not corrected this. And honestly, they can't. If we go back to the campaign and we go here, they are unable, once somebody pledges on a pledge, you cannot edit that pledge at all. So it lists the charging case that it has for the batteries. And again, it cannot have that anymore, but they can also never change that. So that is something that's permanently there. If you look at their pledges here, where they actually list them here though, it still mentions the charging case and stuff like that. And again, that is just something that they can change on these batteries, but they wouldn't match that. So there's still some hints and stuff around the batteries, but for the most part, they've tried to remove most of it. But it did start to sell with that. Now, about the, after a thorough evaluation and testing, you can decide how much thorough testing they could have done within a day. But obviously, they changed this kind of late game here. And it's one of those things where, again, they're just trying to get that deal, I feel. And so they're just going to say yes or just agree with you if you point out something. They're like, oh, yeah, no, not that. It's like a buddy really trying to be your friend, right? And they'll be whoever you want them to be your friend. Okay, so scrolling down here, KC says the only things we should worry about is the logistics, transportation, shipping out furniture with battery in it worldwide and with nearby pickup location arranged. And again, they say what's more, there is no battery built into the table. It needs to be plugged in for power. And then there's Starflyer again saying it is interesting that when you're called out for potential complications related to shipping an item internationally that contains a battery, you state that there is no battery. The table must be plugged in to operate. And then Mark says you only provide information on where people could potentially pick up the tables after you have their money and their initial shipping down payment. So again, you pay money right up front on the Kickstarter saying, hey, yeah, I want to pick up locally. And then only later on will they tell you where that actually is. And then they also said, this is now the third gross misrepresentation of your product. First, the quality of the wood. I don't think anyone ever considered press board to be premium quality. Then the 4 speakers that were only now 2. And now the many references to a battery. And now you're claiming no battery exists. And then again, the same thing that they've been pasting the whole time. And then Mark eventually responds with, you have claimed in other comments to have extensive experience with logistics, but you hadn't even realized that a battery shipped internationally is a huge issue. You keep posting conflicting statements all over the place. Something to keep in mind here. Now, this is interesting. In response to Michael B., who's talking really about red flags here, he says, our team has experience in crafting tables, and we've established a furniture supply chain to China to ensure competitive and budget-friendly prices. The reason we created Toyzzo on Kickstarter is that we noticed many gaming tables are expensive and unfair to utilize many functions in one. Very true. Like, all of that, I feel, is legitimately honest and upfront. I think they make furniture. They saw a market that they could, help with when it comes to a cheap alternative, and that's what they're trying to do here. Fully believe them on that. I really do. This inspired us to design an affordable gaming table. To enhance the gaming experience, we also integrated speakers and RGB lighting into the table. We don't think it must be a game enthusiast to design the game table. We're new to the gaming world. Now, I bolded this is my bolding here, because I wanted to point out the fact that they are right now admitting, hey, we're not like gamers, okay? We just saw an opportunity in furniture and are pursuing that, but we are like brand new to this gaming thing. That's going to come into play in a little bit, so just keep that in mind. And again, this is afterwards. We're going in reverse order, so we're going now before they admitted that. Okay, so it's, hi Toyzzo, can you post some links to where you can see some of your projects your marketing director, Elisa, last name, has worked on? Sounds like she has lots of experience in this area. And with startup projects and online marketing, would be great to see some of her work. Again, they didn't do that at all, but I did that for you. It's right here. It's a LinkedIn thing. I don't know why they wouldn't share that or talk about some of the things that she's willing to talk about publicly. You can go here and check that and see everything that she's kind of worked on and done. And I think that's honestly one of the more legitimizing things that they should probably be pointing out, but they didn't really do that. Also, this is one of the first times going in reverse order that you mentioned the sharing BGG accounts. They essentially don't have BGG accounts, is my assumption, which is why they're not sharing them, because you would be able to see that they were just created. Because again, this is like right when you're finding out, hey, we're new to the gaming world, i.e. we don't have this long existing BGG thing. That's not the case. In fact, I don't even know if they know what BGG is. Okay, so moving on, here's California Freddy again. It says, you gave the http toyzo.co your domain in the comments below, but it does not exist. And they corrected it saying, oh, it's actually HTTPS. So they linked the wrong website. So let's go ahead and take a look at the website. So here is https www.toyzo.co. As you can see, it uses all the same stuff that you see on the campaign page. It has a link to buy now here. It has some of the same things that they showed on the campaign page. You'll notice, by the way, they have like, regular, like people are going to buy this to play chess. And then they have almost like Legos there. So they're just like putting like game stuff, including toys. So it's kind of weird, but okay. And then like chess, I guess. Again, kind of that new to gamer, don't really know what it is. So here's a table. But one thing I'm going to point out here is that then the only other link is a buy now. There's no about me. There's no contact us. There's no nothing. It's literally just a page with 2 links to the Kickstarter and some of the campaign page posted up. Now, let's look at when this was made. This was made in 6/12/2023. Now, what's important here is just, I guess, how recent this is, right? If they were first prototyping, if you recall back here, they were saying in their timeline that in 6/2022 they were doing the prototype and that they were doing their second trial production here and that they launched their Kickstarter on 9 on September, and then they actually made this on the 6th. That's actually a fair distance, I feel, where it's like that. This is a pretty recent thing where they were just kind of ramping it up. In other words, it's part of their marketing. So I don't know. Let's see when Elisa joined them. She says that she's done it really only from January 2023. So for a few months she did that, and then they started the marketing. And the marketing starts with having a website, and they did that a few months before launching the campaign. So before that, there wasn't even a website for this company, right? That's a very brand new bare bones company. So they've talked about their partners, and they've talked about, distributing to Walmart and stuff like that. But this is a hot off the press company that has no links to any of that they have visibly shown. Okay, so going back into here, they correct that, and they say, okay, the website's here. Michael says, just curious, why do you keep increasing the available number of Super Early Bird Deluxe pledges? It was around 300, if I remember right, when I pledged, and has increased since then now to 1,400. Again, that's talking about this right here, where they keep adding more and more to keep people in there. So they're keeping that price really low. That Super Early Backer is now several days old. And here they just said, we decided to increase Super Early Bird pledge in response to feedback from our community. We want more to enjoy the best deal, and this change won't affect our product quality and delivery timelines. My assumption here, they haven't really listed it here, but my assumptions here are they expected a certain amount up to that, and if they haven't reached that, then they may as well do that. They've already priced it with that in mind, would be my assumption here. Okay, so this is VFI commenting here, and they say, where are these pickup warehouses locations going to be? And then Brandon says it doesn't exist. They are just saying whatever they want and hoping they can do it in the future. The promise of a one-time, all-encompassing shipping charge of $45 of these pickups is absurd. A few things here. VFI. VFI is actually VFI Asia. This is quite the website. I'm sorry about the color, my goodness. But you'll see the logo there is the same as the logo here. This is a very well-known distributor, especially in China and Asia at large, where they run a whole lot of stuff. They do retail, they do translations, they do a lot of stuff. It's a very legitimate company that does a lot of things. And as you can see on their website, they have stuff like a contact us, right? They have that. So you can actually learn more about them, or they have an about us here. So obviously a more legitimate company, and they're even on here now asking, hey, what's up with this? Now, Brandon makes up a great point here, and that's why I've really magnified the text here. They're just saying whatever they want, hoping they can do it in the future. It's exactly what my thought was going into this. So reading this comment was like a bang right on the money. Brandon, you and I think are on the same wavelengths here. Again, I've worked with a lot of these kind of companies before where they are just trying to get you to say yes. And once they have your money, they'll do their best to figure it out. And by their best, I mean, they'll probably give you about 80%, but they'll certainly try, and you will probably get a product. It'll probably not be exactly what you expected, and maybe not quite as nice as you expected, but you're still okay. If you've ever gone to a place like AliExpress or anything like that, where you've gotten like the cheap knockoff versions of stuff, like you kind of know what you're paying for. You're paying it for it cheap. You're getting something cheap in return. And you come out and like it's kind of like a half broken, but you're like, oh, I only paid like whatever for it, 20% of the normal price, and it's obviously 20% of the quality too. So it's very much kind of like that. So at this point, they're just changing things. How many speakers do you get? 4? Nope. Now drop down to 2. Oh, hey, it has a battery. Oh, no, it doesn't have a battery. Oh, well, you'll be able to pick it up anywhere. Yeah, we know some people who deliver to Walmart, so maybe that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Like, it's just, they're just saying whatever you want to hear and hoping you'll land it. And we're going to see that very, very clearly here in a moment. So let's go and keep scrolling here. Here's VFI again saying no Facebook, LinkedIn, or website. Again, true. I think they actually said that there is a Facebook page. He says that, though. I was not able to find it through searching quite a few Google searches. So if it is, it's pretty hidden. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying that I couldn't find it. That being said, it doesn't sound like I'm missing much anyway. And I imagine it's about as new as their website. LinkedIn or website, again, only one person on LinkedIn, falsely claiming to be a US-based company. So they originally based it in Los Angeles, and then they changed it to California, or they changed it to China. This marketing manager runs a startup marketing company and is not directly tied to the company. Toyzzo, correct, they're a contractor. Here they respond saying Toyzzo is based in China, so they are admitting it here. And then VFI. So if you go back here and you scroll all the way up here, you're going to see it says China here. It did not say China before this. And again, they'll kind of explain why in a moment. So they respond to VFI again, or VFI says, hey, the HTTP is blank. Google search doesn't go ClickUp Labs, landing page not found. Would you be willing to have a third-party inspector confidentially visit your Chinese operation and or discuss with your manufacturer to independently verify production costs and shipping estimates? Again, this is a company in Asia offering to do this. They're a very big company in Asia that is very well known by a lot of people. Some people like VFI, some people don't. It depends on your experience with them, like with most companies. But they are definitely like there, right? And they're saying, hey, we'd like to send that off. There's no response to this, by the way. And then they said you should go to DiceCon or ConCon in China to show off your tables. So again, they're like, hey, there's like local places in China. If you're in China, like come show it off. You can do that. So VFI is definitely putting their feet to the fire a little bit. And the only response that they get is, oh, hey, it should be HTTPS. So then they say the website is indeed live, but it lacks any more information about your company, supply chain, about, or content information. Like I said, it's literally just a plain website with 2 links that was just posted a few months ago to buy the game. It is very bare bones. You could make that in an hour easily, especially when you're reusing stuff you already have. Please note, I love Kickstarter and the real projects that go through it. I loathe with a passion the number of times I and others have backed campaigns that are designed as a scam. Now, as scams. Again, I think we use the term scams really highly here. I'm hesitant to actually call it that until it actually is, if that makes sense, right? If they don't deliver, by all means, you're going to see a video of me calling it a scam. But until then, I'm very cautious to really fine-tune that. In other words, why assume malice when ignorance is like just as viable, in fact, probably more viable, when it comes to how difficult this will actually be. It seems like they just are like, hey, make furniture, let's make a game table, throw it up in Kickstarter, it should be fine, right? Right? Maybe not. Okay, so VFI again here says, has this company made anything before? Again, nothing on LinkedIn. They're not pointing anything. Their website doesn't point to anything. Their website's only a few months new. So like they appear to be brand new as a company. Do they have more than one prototype? What shipping companies are they using to make the worldwide deliveries at such low prices? Again, no response there, of course. All they've said again is that their prototype is in China. Right here, our sample unit is here in China. So California Freddy again says you're indicated Los Angeles as your location. And so California Freddy is probably like, maybe I can take a look at this. He's in California, it sounds like. And nope, it's in China, which is always kind of interesting when you see stuff like this and you realize how staged this is. That and you can see them also here, like these are fake windows. Like a lot of YouTubers will do that. They'll have like these kind of fake house setups. I'm not saying that's a bad way. Like it's a studio, right? A lot of sitcoms did this too and stuff. And there'll be lighting back there to fake it. They're in like a warehouse or something like that, and they purposely chose certain people to show off, and so it looks more Californian than it actually is. I guess I'll word it that way. Just to give you kind of an example, I'm gonna scroll down to one of their things here. Let's go. Yeah, like right here. You'll see. I'll mute it here. You'll see it's the same thing, right? Except now the lights are off. So it's just like this. You'll even see like a fuzz fall down and stuff like that. It's just them in a little corner of kind of fake house doing this. It's staged. So yeah, FYI, it's in California. They have one there, I guess. Okay, and then Toyzzo again says, we picked a U.S. location for our Kickstarter campaign because our marketing director, the contract employee, is in U.S. In other words, the only U.S. person in this team. As we know, Kickstarter has certain restrictions for Chinese companies and identities. So in other words, they know that there's a restriction around Chinese operations on Kickstarter, which there are, which is why there's a Chinese version of Kickstarter available for Chinese people to operate with. Kaman uses both of them, for instance. Limbo Miniatures does. A lot of them actually do. You just don't ever see them or know about them because it's all in Chinese. And so they essentially lied and said, oh yeah, we're from Los Angeles, and made it look like they were from Los Angeles, but they are actually in China. All right, here, there was a canceled pledge. We can't see what they said, but they said here, we have sent out Toyzzo table to some YouTubers to review. Hopefully you will like it. But again, this was 3 days ago posted. God knows who those people are. It's in the same, eventually you'll see it as everything else. Eventually you'll know who's getting these tables and who's reviewing it. Eventually, apparently they've made more than one, even though they said later on, oh, our sample unit, did they not have more sample? Like, they never mentioned more than one sample unit. So it's like, it just seems sketchy, right? Just kind of iffy here. Here, they're commenting, this is the last thing I want to point out. People are doing that comment to try and win the free one, right? They're like, hey, here's my favorite board game moment. I think this is awesome. It's lovely to read these. But one thing you'll notice in a lot of the responses is, board game is how we connect with each other. They are new to board gaming, which we found out well after this post. So like this isn't really true for them. Or board game has special meaning to us. No, they're just a furniture company that happened to see a marketing potential and made it real quick. They didn't do a lot of the research or anything like that, which is why the whole point of the well to save a game is mooted. It made moot when you put the legs in there, so you can't actually save anything there. Or here they say game is about friends and board game complete us. Again, it's a furniture. It's like Ashley Furniture saying, "Oh yeah, board games complete us." The moment they make a board game table, it's like, no, you guys don't have a BGG account. You're not sharing anything like that. You're a random Chinese company that wants to make a board game table for cheap, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but the fakeness, the saying anything to make people like us is kind of the weird part there. So, or like this one. We have sent it to some reviewers. We will post it later. I don't know when later is. It's been 3 days. They are here as of 9 hours ago. Still haven't posted it. Nobody knows. We always have board game as our belongings. No, you don't always have board game as your belongings. You're new to board gaming. You said you're new to board games. That you're just a furniture company. So which is it? So I think that kind of summarizes it for you guys on where it's at. That's kind of everything that's happened. To summarize my feelings on this, like I've kind of insinuated throughout this, bottom half of the video, I think that there's an inclination to say anything to get you to back. I think they are very much following exactly what a marketing person says. This is nothing against Elisa. Elisa has a job and she probably does it very well. I personally don't tend to like that, and I've seen this happen before. In fact, if you look through my past videos, you'll see at times there have been companies that said like they did something bad, right? Like the whole oh hey, share the thing and you get commission for sharing it kind of thing to like everybody. So in other words, you're getting a lot of like fake numbers and fake positivity and stuff like that, or faking the oh hey, we made it in California when we're actually Chinese. And you call them on it, and other people have came to, oh, look, we're just following our marketing person. Our marketing person told us to do this, and we're just blindly following it. And so it's all just us following the process. And that's what I think they're doing here, except I don't think it's quite so blind per se. It's just they have a marketing director. The marketing director is saying, hey, say you're in California, then, show off it to make it look like it's in California, and then, but post some stuff here and allude to this. And like there's all this stuff that's going on, and they're just kind of leaning on that and just doing that. Whether it's truthful, whether it's accurate, whether it's the best way they can represent themselves in an honest fashion. They're just trying to say anything they can, pretend to be board gamers, pretend to be Californians, pretend that they have extensive knowledge and all this stuff, yet being a brand new company with zero experience. Like if you go to the team here on the co-founder, again, who the other co-founder is, God only knows, but how much history do you think Brian here, just first name of the co-founder and supply chain manager, has when it comes to building all of this? I would wager off the information I see, which is just a first name and a picture, not a lot, my opinion. Honestly, I'm not trying to judge age, but my son looks about as old as him, and he's 17. So, and again, maybe he looks really young. Maybe he's like 52. I don't know. Who knows? What I'm saying, guys, is this is the information we have because they haven't supplied anything else. If they want to supply, here's our history, here's our logistic chain, here's all of that. Like VFI said, by all means, I will cover that and update you guys. But as it stands now, you're paying for a cheap table that you might get. If you are willing to take that risk, in other words, if you're willing to say, hey, look, it's $270, and in fact, one of the commenters was like that. I spent more on board games that I never got, so if I can get a table for this, that's great. Perhaps it is. That very well might be the case, by all means. It is your money, and you can do with it as you wish, and of course, you can make your own opinion. From my perspective, officially, I put a strong caution on it, and here's really why. Here's really why. We have to navigate the line, you and I, between being a consumer and being a good consumer in this industry. I guess I'll word it that way. So even if you could get this table, even if you could back this, spend the $270, pay the $75 for shipping, whatever, and eventually get the table, and you get what you pay for. In fact, then some, it's actually kind of nicer than that. Then that's great, right? That's super great for you personally. In the short term, But by supporting campaigns like this, making it successful, making it work, showing that you don't have to put a lot of information out there, you don't have to tell backers everything, you can just string them along or say things that are maybe not quite correct or fake your location or make it seem like something that you're not, and do all of this kind of manipulative marketing, say anything kind of stuff, you're doing bad for the industry because more will follow, and that affects you in the long. Videos like this take a lot of time and effort to do well and do thoroughly and do all the research and stuff like that, which isn't exactly what YouTube promotes super well, especially on such a niche thing like this. So if you appreciate this and you can't even support financially, my Patreon is linked down below, my YouTube membership is linked down below, and I do thank you very much. But regardless, guys, I do hope I helped. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.